Hello! This is my first speedpaint video with commentary. I've only posted speedpaint videos with nothing else in them but background music, so this is a bit different. I wanted to share my thought process and the research I did for this project without writing an entire essay in the description or something. In this video I'll be characterizing the 7 deadly sins as demon creature things. Pride is told to be the worst sin of all, or the root of all other sins. At first I was going to make greed the final boss guy because the others all have the deep wanting for something and would pretty much do anything to achieve it. But on further research I learned that pride was the big bad one since it puts the sinner before God and other people. Basically, if you only care about yourself, you wouldn't mind betraying others for your own personal gain. Which is similar to what I went for greed, but I made greed more about the constant feeling of you deserve all these things, and if you feel like you deserve things more than other people, pride is to be the root of that. Unlike a lot of depictions I've seen, I didn't make Pride a complete narcissist. He's a bit more self-aware. Because of this, he covers up his flaws and insecurities with gold in an attempt to seize them. Hence the shiny gold bandages covering up the triangles. It's kind of a weird metaphor for it, but it's what I came up with. A popular theme I went for in these are just unhealthy coping mechanisms for deeper emotions. And I guess that's pretty much where they start and build up out of your control. I wanted to make him look like the final boss, kind of, or the hardest to beat out of all of them. I gave him this giant halo that's obviously fake since he's a demon, which made rendering this an absolute nightmare, which is why it looks kind of crappy for a good portion of the video before I changed it. I also tried to make the halo somewhat resemble the symbol thing, which I did for everyone as like an Easter egg, I guess. So try to spot them all! In the final design there are some mistakes, but overall it turned out pretty cool.
How bad can I be? I'm just building the economy. How bad can I be?
Are you not content with your current life? Tired of living by what's morally correct? Don't you just want to get what you want? Money, revenge, love, happiness? We've got it all for the low price of your soul! That was stupid. This guy's gonna try and ruin your life in any way he can for any sort of profit he can get out of you. Most likely everything you love and value in life. He's the right-hand man of pride since he's not the big bad guy like I originally assumed. He does most of the work trying to get others to sin. He's basically the more evil version of a car salesman. He'll take it all with a smile, or smug grin. As long as he profits, he doesn't care for your demise. You may notice the slice taken out of his chest. Well, you can't remorselessly scam people with the heart and soul, can you? Which is exactly why he needs yours to survive. In my opinion, the concept idea for him is a lot cooler than the character design itself. I definitely think I could have done better. I made his tail look like a stock arrow, which is kind of more funny than like a symbolic thing. He's not my favorite, but I could see a lot happening with this character.
Now, I'm really mad.
Wrath is one of the worst ones in my opinion, especially since it can have such detrimental consequences. Arguably, sometimes anger is justified, but it's the impulsive, senseless cruelty that make up the sin. Despite being the most aggressive, he's actually scared easily and regrets a lot of his wrongdoings. For this reason, I gave him medieval-inspired armor as a metaphor for the constant need to protect yourself by looking intimidating. Something I'd like to point out here is the skull helmet. This was torture to draw. I spent a good hour trying to make it look anatomically correct while still looking correct to the cartoon head, and even on the final design I wish I had done it differently. Honestly, what I should have done was drawn the entire skull first, so it would have been easier to separate the jaw. Also, I should have learned more about the anatomy to make it make more sense. Kinda too late for that now, though. The armor is also supposed to protect him against the monsters and stuff he has to fight in hell, since the punishment for wrath, according to Dante's Inferno, is to basically fight a bunch of people. So, it also has the emotional meaning as well. The point is, he's not just some mindless murder machine. The reasons for his actions are not just out of anger, but out of fear. Fear he'll spend eternity in torment for his actions. So instead of conquering the consequences, he purges them, unknowingly creating more and more enemies along the way. I feel like there's a bit too much red in his design and I could have used more colors, but you know, when you're covered in red, your enemies can't see you bleed. We all knew this moment was to come eventually. I've done things. Unspeakable things! Just kidding, this was pretty tame. Though I was a bit scared of drawing her and fear of it coming off as too provocative. I ended up liking her design in the end, though. Lust can have many roots, but I think what summarizes it the most would be some shape or form of loneliness. Either that be dissatisfaction from whatever you're currently in, or deprivation of love altogether. It's obviously not a sin I can relate to the most, but it sounds pretty tormenting. I wanted her to look like one of those demons who will try to seduce men and then eat their soul or whatever, which makes her motive pretty similar to greed, hence she has no soul. Rather than adding a gaping hole in her chest, which I've already done like a billion times, I made the colors in her eyes inverted, which can also allude to the metaphorical blindness of love, or seeing a person in a way they actually are not. This could go the other way around too, considering the whole succubus vibe. She also has 4 arms with claws, which first of all turned out freaking epic, like what hidden ability did I just unlock? And second of all, was more of a spooky addition to her design than like a symbolic thing. I don't know, I just thought it would suit her. She's also one of the only demons with horns, cause get it? Laugh. It's funny. It's funny! Besides her design being rather risky, I think I did a pretty good job at getting the vibe across without just straight up drawing an NSFW character. Because that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to make her come off as unappealing in a way, because she's a demon. The original plan was to make a cutesy cartoon version and then make a scary one, but I ended up not having enough time or motivation to do the scary ones. It would have really fit with less specifically, though.
You want this cheese, fool?
This one kind of broke my brain to research. There are so many definitions of envy that I couldn't decide which one would fit best. The more popular definition I've seen was an angry, selfish hatred for what someone else has. But first of all, that's just similar to wrath, and second of all, that's not how we see envy. I think of envy as a draining absence of your own expectations of yourself. Seeing others live up to those expectations and feeling left out. Trying too hard to be something you're not and beating yourself up if you fail to do so. A desperate copycat. She's similar to greed in that way, feeling as if you deserve such things and not understanding why you can't achieve it. Pretty much the inevitable phase of any artist. It's a soul-sucking and hard to push past feeling. She started off as just a green creature and ended up turning into an emo clown girl. I want her to look like she's hiding her identity and putting on a performance for every situation, covering up like with pride in the bandages. I also tried to make her eyes reflective, like a mirror or a puddle of water, while having normal eyes all over. I wish I had made the other eyes reflective, or at least less basic. I did make the other eyes come out of injuries all over her, but I already did that with a different character, so not that original. Besides that, she ended up looking way cooler than her original design, and I really like her.
I don't believe they would ever poison me.
This one had a similar problem to envy, many definitions of gluttony. This one ended up being less mental illness like the other ones, and ended up just being the goofy character. But he does have some lore, just less of it because I had a particularly hard time researching this one. It seems the other ones all have a specific root or origin, and gluttony is just what it is, gluttony. Endless consumption with seemingly no other reason than to consume. Which is mainly the reason he has no stomach, because why would you eat if you don't have a stomach? He also has a lot of teeth in places where there shouldn't be teeth. Just, like, teeth. Everywhere. So much so that his normal teeth stretch his mouth out of his head, which, to be honest, doesn't look the best. I think what I should have done was made it stretch out of the jaw instead of the entire side of his skull. What's with me not remembering how jaws work? Anyways, I've often seen depictions of gluttony being fat, which I did the exact opposite of. Again, gluttony is pretty much just reasonless indulgence. He has nothing to gain and nothing to lose, yet everything to consume. So I made him super skinny to show that. That and the giant nightmare threadbare teeth hole I mentioned earlier. Speaking of teeth, he's got some rotten teeth, as well as the rest of his body slowly rotting away, succumbing to all the consequences of his actions. Alcohol abuse also counts as gluttony, which also plays a role in the whole rotting thing. Also the reason I made him the crazy goofball character. He was a bit difficult to understand and design, but I really like how he turned out. probably my personal favorite, especially since he turned out the most diverse from the others. I originally was just gonna make him a shadow blob creature since I wanted the simplicity of it to be the symbolism, but that's boring. So instead I made him translucent, almost like he's part of the background, like he's empty, almost. And yet I added swirly things to look chaotic and all over the place. Honestly, they kinda give me Starry Night vibes. Speaking of Starry Night, this guy is basically just depression. The absence of purpose or ambition in life and letting it drag you down to the ground. Because of this, I added a bunch of roots attaching to his arms and horns coming from the ground. I wanted it to look like he wants to escape from them, but he's not really trying or he doesn't know how, so he's just kinda dealing with it. I made his tail one of those chain ball things you see in cartoon prisoners, which I forgot in the final design. I was mad about it, but looking back it might have clashed with the final design and wouldn't have made any sense with the roots being there. He turned out really cool looking and probably the scariest out of them all. Well, that's all of them. First of all, I'd like to apologize for how late this video got finished. I've got no excuse, honestly, other than the genuine hatred I have for my own voice. I better hear nothing about how I'm 5% chipmunk. Other than that, I really enjoyed making this video and having a better way to get my stories across. I'm not a Christian or anything like that, so feel free to roast me in the comments. I'd love to hear others' thoughts on the subject. Thanks for watching, and I hope to do similar things in the future. Bye!